A arranged marriage, dark secrets, and a fight for freedom. See how a young woman saves her family after million-dollar debts with powerful Arabs. First, don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more exciting love stories like this one. In the luxurious penthouse of one of New York City's most imposing buildings, Emily Anderson contemplated the city through the panoramic window. Her eyes, usually full of life, now reflected a mixture of sadness and resignation. At 28, this brilliant young woman full of dreams found herself at a crossroads that would change the course of her life forever. "Em, darling, are you listening to me?" The voice of Thomas, her father, brought her back to reality. Seated on the Italian leather sofa, he seemed to have aged 10 years in recent weeks. Beside him, Catherine, Emily's mother, held a handkerchief, her eyes red from crying. Emily turned slowly, facing her parents. "Yes, Dad, I'm listening." Thomas sighed deeply before continuing. "Honey, you know we wouldn't do this if there was any other option. The Habibs, they're not people to be trifled with. The debts we've accumulated—" "I know, Dad," Emily interrupted, her voice surprisingly firm. "You've already explained the situation to me. Millions in debt, veiled threats, the company on the brink of bankruptcy. And the only way out is for me to marry the Habib heir." Catherine sobbed softly. "Oh, my dear, how I wish things were different." Emily crossed the room and knelt before her parents, holding their hands. "Mom, Dad, I understand. Really, you've always given me everything, always fought for me. Now, it's my turn to fight for you." The silence that followed was interrupted by the sound of the doorbell. Thomas stood up, adjusting the expensive suit that barely disguised his defeated posture. It must be Michael. Michael Roberts, the family lawyer and Emily's close friend since childhood, entered the room. His eyes immediately sought Emily, a mixture of concern and something deeper in his gaze. "Good afternoon, everyone," he greeted, his voice controlled, but Emily could feel the tension behind his words. "I've brought the agreement documents." Emily stood up, smoothing her designer dress. "Let's get this over with, Michael. Where do I sign?" Michael hesitated, his eyes silently pleading. "Em, are you sure? We can still try to find another solution." "There is no other solution, Michael," Thomas intervened, his voice tired. "Believe me, we've explored all options." Emily took the pen Michael reluctantly offered. Her hand trembled slightly as she signed the documents that sealed her fate. With each signature, she felt as if she were closing the doors to her dreams, one by one. Meanwhile, on the other side of the city, in an opulent office decorated with rare artwork and antique furniture, Adam Habib observed the city view. At 35, he was the epitome of business success, heir to an oil empire that stretched back generations. "So it's done," said Jasmine, his younger sister, entering the room with a tablet in hand. The Anderson girl accepted the deal. Adam turned, his face a mask of indifference. "Good, inform our father. He'll be pleased to know we've resolved this situation." Jasmine hesitated, studying her brother. "Adam, are you okay with this? This arranged marriage, it's not exactly what you've always wanted for your life." For a moment, Adam's mask faltered, revealing a flash of emotion. "What I want doesn't matter, Jasmine. We have a legacy to protect, expectations to meet. Our father made that very clear." "But what about the girl? Emily, isn't it? You don't even know her." Adam turned his attention back to the window. "She made her choice, just as I made mine. We both have duties to fulfill." Back at the Anderson apartment, Emily found herself alone in her room. The walls, once covered with photos of travels and dreams, now seemed empty. She picked up a framed photo from her graduation, recalling the plans she had made for her career as a writer. A soft knock on the door pulled her from her thoughts. "Come in," she called, quickly composing herself. Michael entered, his face a mixture of concern and determination. "Em, I know you think there's no other way out, but I promise I'll find a way to get you out of this situation." Emily smiled sadly. "Mike, I appreciate it, but this is my choice. My family needs me." Michael stepped closer, taking her hands in his. "What about your dreams? Your writing? Everything you've worked for?" "Sometimes we have to make sacrifices for those we love," Emily replied, her voice trembling slightly. "But what about love? You deserve more than an arranged marriage to a stranger." Emily gently withdrew her hands. "Love? Mike, this is real life, not one of my novels. Sometimes we have to be practical. Michael stared at her intently. I won't give up, Em. I'll investigate the Habibs, find a way to break this contract. I promise I'll free you from this. Before Emily could respond, a commotion was heard from the living room. She and Michael rushed to see what was happening. In the living room, they found Thomas talking animatedly on the phone, while Catherine cried with joy. Yes, I understand. Of course, we'll be there. Thank you very much. Thomas finished the call, turning to the others with a radiant smile. It was Adam Habib's assistant, he announced. They want to meet us tomorrow to discuss the details of the arrangement. Emily felt her heart race. The moment she both feared and at the same time anticipated had arrived. Tomorrow she would meet the man who would become her husband, the man who unknowingly carried the weight of saving her family. While everyone around her talked excitedly about the meeting, Emily found herself looking out the window again. The sun was setting over New York, painting the sky with shades of orange and pink. It was as if the universe was closing a chapter of her life and preparing to open another. Are you okay? Michael's voice brought her back to reality. Emily turned, forcing a smile. Yes, everything's fine. Tomorrow's a new day, isn't it? But as she said these words, a part of her wondered what future awaited her in the arms of a stranger. And would she have enough strength to face what lay ahead? The sun had barely risen when Emily woke up, her heart racing with the prospect of the day that awaited her. She got up and walked to the window, watching the city begin to awaken. New York, always so alive and bustling, seemed strangely calm that morning, as if the universe itself was holding its breath in anticipation of what was to come. Carefully, Emily chose an elegant but conservative dress. As she got ready, her thoughts wandered. Who would Adam Habib be? What would her life be like from now on? These questions echoed in her mind, unanswered. In the living room, she found her parents already prepared. Catherine nervously adjusted her pearl necklace, while Thomas repeatedly consulted his watch. "Good morning, darling," Catherine greeted her, her voice trembling with nervousness. "You look beautiful." Emily forced a smile. "Thank you, Mom." Thomas approached, placing a comforting hand on his daughter's shoulder. "Remember, Em, we're doing this for the family. I know it's a big sacrifice, but—" "I know, Dad," Emily gently interrupted him. "I've already made my decision. Let's move forward." The journey to the Habib office was made in tense silence. Emily watched the city pass by the car window, feeling as if she was saying goodbye to her old life. Upon arriving at the imposing building that housed the headquarters of Habib Oil, they were greeted by an impeccably dressed receptionist. "The Habibs are waiting for you in the conference room," she informed, guiding them through corridors decorated with modern art and Middle Eastern antiques. When the conference room doors opened, Emily felt her heart skip a beat. There, standing by the window, was Adam Habib. Tall, with broad shoulders and striking features, Adam emanated an aura of power and control. His dark eyes met Emily's, and for a moment, she saw something, surprise perhaps, pass through them. "Welcome," a female voice broke the moment. Jasmine Habib, Adam's sister, stood up to greet them. "Please sit down." As everyone took their seats, Emily couldn't help but notice how Adam seemed uncomfortable, despite his impeccable posture. "I believe introductions are unnecessary," Jasmine began, her tone professional. "We're here to finalize the details of the agreement between our families." Thomas nervously cleared his throat. "Yes, of course. We are very grateful for your understanding in this situation." Adam, who had remained silent until then, finally spoke. His voice was deep and controlled. "Mr. Anderson, we understand that your company has gone through difficulties. This arrangement will benefit everyone." Emily observed Adam carefully. There was something in his eyes, a certain reluctance. She wondered if he was as uncomfortable with the situation as she was. "And what about the wedding?" Catherine asked, her voice trembling slightly. Jasmine smiled, though the smile didn't reach her eyes. "We're planning a discreet ceremony a month from now. Enough time for the necessary preparations." 1 month. Emily felt as if the air had been sucked out of the room. 1 month until her life changed completely. "If you'll allow me," Adam intervened, surprising everyone, "I'd like to speak privately with Miss Anderson." There was a moment of tense silence before Thomas nodded. Of course," Adam gestured towards a side door. "This way, please." Emily followed him to a smaller room decorated with the same discreet luxury as the rest of the building. As soon as the door closed behind them, Adam seemed to relax a little. Miss Anderson, he began, his voice softer now, I wanted to apologize for this situation. Emily blinked, surprised. Apologize? Adam nodded, running his hand through his dark hair in a gesture of frustration. This arrangement, it's not ideal for either of us. I want you to know that I have no expectations beyond what is comfortable for you. For a moment, Emily was speechless. This wasn't the cold, calculating man she had expected. I appreciate your consideration, Mr. Habib. Adam, please, he gently corrected. If we're going to get married, I think we can dispense with formalities. Emily nodded, a small smile forming on her lips. Adam, then. And you can call me Emily. There was a moment of silence between them, not entirely uncomfortable, but laden with unasked questions and unspoken words. Emily, Adam finally spoke, I know this isn't the life you planned for yourself, but I promise to do my best to make it pleasant. There was a sincerity in his eyes that touched Emily. Thank you, Adam. I'll try my best, too. Meanwhile, outside the building, Michael watched the scene from afar, his heart heavy. He had followed the Andersons' car, unable to stay put, while Emily's fate was sealed. I won't give up, Em, he muttered to himself. I'll find out what these Habibs are hiding, even if it's the last thing I do. Back in the conference room, Emily and Adam returned, both seeming more relaxed than before. Jasmine noticed the subtle change in her brother's posture and raised an eyebrow, intrigued. Well, Thomas said, breaking the silence, it seems we have an agreement then. Adam nodded, his eyes briefly meeting Emily's. Yes, we have an agreement. As the families exchanged handshakes and finalized the details, Emily found herself looking out the window again. The city outside continued its frantic routine, oblivious to the drama unfolding in that room. 1 month. In 1 month, she would be Emily Habib. The idea still seemed surreal, but after her conversation with Adam, it no longer seemed so scary. When they left the building, Emily noticed a familiar figure across the street. Michael. Their gazes crossed for a moment, and she saw the determination in his eyes. She knew he wouldn't give up easily, and a part of her wondered if she should feel grateful or worried about that. In the car on the way home, Catherine held her daughter's hand. Is everything okay, darling? Emily looked at her mother and for the first time since this whole situation began, felt a spark of hope. Yes, Mom. I think everything will be okay. As the car drove away, Emily didn't notice Adam's eyes following her from his office window. He watched the vehicle disappear into traffic, a thoughtful expression on his face. 1 month, he murmured to himself. 1 month to find out if this is madness or something more. And so, with silent promises and cautious hopes, the stage was set for what would come next. A month that would change their lives forever, in ways none of them could predict. The weeks following the meeting with the Habibs passed in a whirlwind of preparations and conflicting emotions for Emily. The wedding date was rapidly approaching, and with it a mixture of anxiety and curiosity grew in her chest. On a sunny afternoon, Emily found herself in her favorite cafe in Greenwich Village, absent-mindedly flipping through a bridal magazine. The aroma of fresh coffee filled the air, mingling with the buzz of conversations around her. I thought I'd find you here. A familiar voice pulled her from her reverie. Michael pulled up a chair and sat down in front of her, his eyes shining with an intensity Emily knew well. Mike, she smiled, closing the magazine. What are you doing here? Michael hesitated for a moment before answering. I have something to tell you, something about the Habibs. Emily's heart raced. She knew Michael had promised to investigate the family, but a part of her hoped he had given up. What did you find out? Looking around to make sure no one was listening, Michael leaned forward. I've been investigating their business. There's something strange going on. I found evidence of suspicious transactions, obscure contracts with shell companies. Emily frowned. Mike, are you sure about this? These are serious accusations. I know, he replied, running his hand through his hair in a gesture of frustration. I don't have concrete proof yet, but I'm close. You need to be careful. This marriage, it might be more dangerous than we thought. Before Emily could respond, her cell phone vibrated. It was a message from Adam, asking if she would like to have dinner with him that night. She looked back at Michael, feeling torn. Look, Mike, I appreciate your concern, but I need to give this a chance. Give Adam a chance. Michael seemed to want to argue, but restrained himself. Just be careful, okay? Emily nodded, standing up. I always am. Now, if you'll excuse me, I need to get ready for a dinner. As Emily walked away, Michael watched her, his heart heavy. He knew he needed to continue investigating, not just for the Andersons, but for Emily. Hours later, Emily found herself in one of New York's most exclusive restaurants, sitting across from Adam. The place was an oasis of elegance and discretion, perfect for a private meeting. I'm glad you accepted my invitation, Adam said, his soft smile lighting up his dark eyes. Emily returned the smile, surprised at how at ease she felt. I'm glad I came too. It's good for us to get to know each other better before the big day. Adam nodded, his gaze becoming more serious. Emily, I wanted to talk about that. I know our situation isn't conventional, but I want you to know that I respect you and your feelings. Thank you, Adam, Emily replied, touched by his sincerity. I confess I was apprehensive at first, but you've been very kind. As they talked, Emily discovered that Adam was more than just the heir to an oil empire. He was passionate about literature just like her, and had a surprisingly sharp sense of humor. You know, Adam began, after a pause in the conversation, I've always dreamed of doing something beyond the family business. Something meaningful. Emily tilted her head, intrigued. Like what? Clean energy, he replied, his eyes shining with enthusiasm. I've been studying ways to diversify the family business, invest in sustainable technologies, but... He hesitated, his smile faltering. But, Emily encouraged. Adam sighed. Not everyone in the family shares this vision. There's resistance. Emily felt a pang of empathy. She knew well the weight of family expectations. I understand. It must not be easy to go against such deep-rooted traditions. It's not, Adam agreed. But maybe, with the right support. His eyes met hers, a silent question hanging between them. The moment was interrupted by the sound of Emily's cell phone. It was a message from Michael. We need to talk, urgent. Emily ignored the message, focusing again on Adam. The night continued, filled with deep conversations and light laughter. When Adam dropped her off at home, Emily was surprised to find that she didn't want the night to end. Good night, Emily, Adam said softly, holding her hand for a moment longer than necessary. Good night, Adam, she replied, feeling an unexpected warmth spread through her chest. Meanwhile, in a small apartment in the city center, Michael worked frantically, surrounded by piles of documents and flickering computer screens. He was close, he could feel it. The pieces of the puzzle were starting to fit together, revealing a picture that made him increasingly worried. I have to tell Em, he muttered to himself, rubbing his tired eyes. Before it's too late. At the Habib mansion, Jasmine watched her brother arrive, noticing the smile on his face. Seems the dinner went well, she commented, a hint of cynicism in her voice. Adam paused, his smile faltering. Jasmine, don't start. I'm just saying, brother, she continued, don't forget what's at stake here. Feelings can complicate things. Adam stared at his sister, a shadow passing over his eyes. I know exactly what's at stake, Jasmine. Trust me. Meanwhile, Emily lay in her bed, replaying the events of the night in her mind. Her cell phone flashed again with another message from Michael, but she hesitated before opening it. For a moment, she allowed herself to imagine a future where her arranged marriage could turn into something more, something real. But as sleep enveloped her, a small voice in the back of her mind whispered a warning. There were still many secrets to be revealed, many truths hidden in the shadows. And as the big day approached, everyone's fate hung by a thread, ready to be cut or strengthened by the events that were to come. The sun had barely risen when Emily woke up, startled by a troubling dream she couldn't quite remember. She sat up in bed, running her hands through her tousled hair, trying to organize her thoughts. The last few weeks had been an emotional roller coaster, and she felt she was reaching a crucial turning point. Determined to clear her mind, Emily dressed for a morning run in Central Park. The fresh morning air and the verdant scenery always helped her think better. As she ran, her mind wandered between conversations with Adam, Michael's warnings, and her family's expectations. It was then that she spotted a familiar figure sitting on a nearby bench. Catherine, her mother, seemed lost in thought, a melancholic look on her face. "Mom?" Emily called, approaching. "What are you doing here so early?" Catherine looked up, surprised. "Oh, Em, I just needed to think a bit. Emily sat down next to her mother, concerned. Is everything okay? You look sad. Catherine hesitated for a moment before speaking. Darling, there's something I need to tell you. Something about the past. About the Habibs. Emily's heart raced. What is it, Mom? Years ago, Catherine began, her voice trembling. Before you were born, I knew Farid Habib, Adam's father. Emily blinked, surprised. You knew him? How? Catherine took a deep breath. We were young, idealistic. Farid was in America to study and we fell in love. It was an intense love but forbidden. Our families would never approve. Mom, I didn't know, Emily murmured, shocked by the revelation. Nobody knows, darling. Not even your father. Catherine continued, tears shining in her eyes. When Farid had to return to his country, we made a promise. If we ever had children, they would marry, uniting our families. Emily felt as if the ground had disappeared beneath her feet. So, this arrangement, it's not just about money or business, Catherine completed. It's the fulfillment of a promise made long ago. The silence that followed was heavy, laden with unspoken emotions and unanswered questions. Emily tried to process this new information, which cast a completely different light on her situation. Why are you telling me this now? Emily finally asked. Catherine held her daughter's hands. Because you deserve to know the truth, and because I see the way you look at Adam. It's the same look I had for Farid. Emily blushed, surprised that her mother had noticed her emerging feelings. Mom, It's okay, darling. Catherine smiled softly. Love has mysterious ways of manifesting itself. But remember, there's much more at stake here than just our hearts. Meanwhile, in the Habib office, Adam was facing his own confrontation with the past. His father, Farid, had unexpectedly arrived from an overseas trip. Father, Adam greeted, trying to hide his surprise. We weren't expecting you so soon. Farid Habib, an imposing figure even in his mid-60s, observed his son with penetrating eyes. The business in Dubai ended earlier than expected, and I wanted to see how the wedding preparations are going. Adam nodded, feeling a familiar tension grow in his chest. Everything's on track, Father. Emily and I... Emily, Farid interrupted, a strange glint in his eyes. Catherine chose her daughter's name well. Adam frowned, intrigued by his father's reaction. You know her? Farid seemed to quickly recompose himself. Only by name, of course. Adam's son, I hope you understand the importance of this marriage. It's not just about uniting fortunes, but about honoring promises from the past. Before Adam could question further, Jasmine entered the room, interrupting the conversation. Father, what a wonderful surprise. As Jasmine hugged Farid, Adam couldn't help but notice the significant look his father cast in his direction. There were secrets there, buried long ago, and Adam was determined to uncover them. Back at the park, Emily said goodbye to her mother, promising to keep the secret. As she walked back home, her phone rang. It was Michael. Damn, we need to talk. Michael's voice sounded urgent. I've discovered something about the Habibs that you need to know. Emily hesitated, her heart torn between loyalty to her family and trust in her friend. Mike, I don't know if I want to know. Please, Em, Michael pleaded. It's important. Meet me at the cafe in an hour. Hanging up the phone, Emily found herself at a crossroads. On one side, her mother's revelations and her growing feelings for Adam. On the other, Michael's persistent warnings and the secrets that still lingered in the air. As the sun rose higher in the sky, bathing New York in golden light, Emily made her decision. She would meet with Michael, but not before making an important call. Picking up the phone again, she dialed a number she had already memorized. After a few rings, a familiar voice answered. Adam, can we meet? There's something we need to talk about. As the morning progressed, the fates of Emily, Adam, and everyone around them began to intertwine in ways none of them could have predicted. Secrets from the past emerged from the shadows, threatening to shake the foundations of everything they knew. And somewhere in the city, Michael gathered his latest findings, preparing for a confrontation that could change everything. The stage was set for revelations that would shake not just two families, but an entire empire built on old promises and well-guarded secrets. The Gramercy Tavern, known for its elegant ambience and discretion, buzzed with quiet conversation as Emily waited nervously at a corner table. Her fingers tapped an erratic rhythm on the pristine white tablecloth, her eyes darting between the entrance and her watch. Adam arrived precisely on time, his usual composed demeanor slightly ruffled. As he sat down across from Emily, concern etched across his features. "Emily, is everything all right? Your call sounded urgent." Emily took a deep breath, steeling herself. "Adam, there's something I need to tell you. It's about our families, about why we're really getting married." Adam's brow furrowed. "What do you mean?" "My mother, she told me about her past with your father," Emily said, watching Adam's reaction carefully. "About their relationship, the promise they made." Adam's eyes widened in shock. I had no idea. My father never mentioned." "So you really didn't know?" Emily asked, a mixture of relief and confusion in her voice. Adam shook his head, still processing the information. "No, this explains so much. My father's insistence on this marriage, the strange look he had when I mentioned your name." As they delved deeper into this revelation, across the street, hidden in a parked car, Michael observed the scene with a mixture of concern and determination. He had arrived early, hoping to speak with Emily before Adam, but now found himself forced to wait. In his hands, a thick folder containing the results of weeks of investigation. Documents, photos, financial records, all pointing to a complex web of shady business dealings and questionable decisions involving not just the Habibs, but also prominent figures in American politics and the business world. Back at the tavern, Emily and Adam continued their conversation, now in lower, more intimate tones. "Adam," Emily began, hesitant, "what does this mean for us? For this marriage?" Adam reached across the table, taking Emily's hands in his eyes meeting hers with intensity. "Emily, when this arrangement was made, I saw it only as a duty. But now I see it can be so much more." Emily's heart raced at these words, but before she could respond, the tavern's door burst open. Michael strode in, his eyes quickly locating Emily and Adam. "Em!" he called out, approaching the table with determined steps. "We need to talk, now." Adam stood up, a mixture of confusion and mild irritation on his face. "So who are you?" "Michael Roberts," he introduced himself, his tone cold. "Emily's longtime friend and the Anderson family's lawyer." Emily stood up as well, feeling the tension grow between the two men. "Mike, what are you doing here?" Michael tossed the folder on the table, scattering some documents. "Showing the truth about the family you're about to marry into, Em." Adam frowned, picking up one of the papers. His eyes widened as he read the contents. This can't be true." "Oh, but it is," Michael insisted. "Fraudulent contracts, money laundering, bribes. Your father built an empire on corruption, Adam." Emily looked from Michael to Adam, her world spinning. "Adam, is this true?" Adam appeared genuinely shocked and confused. I don't know, Emily. I've never had full access to my father's business dealings. He always kept certain aspects secret." The tavern was now silent, all eyes turned to the drama unfolding. Michael continued, relentless. "And there's more, Em. Your family's debt? It was artificially inflated. The Habibs manipulated the numbers to force this marriage." Emily felt her legs weaken, falling back into her chair. "No, it can't be." Adam, still holding the documents, seemed to be in internal conflict. "I swear, Emily, I knew nothing about this, but if it's true." At that moment, the tavern's door opened again. Fareed Habib entered, followed closely by Jasmine. His eyes scanned the scene, landing on the documents spread across the table. "What's going on here?" Fareed's powerful voice echoed through the room. Adam turned to his father, the documents in his hands trembling slightly. "Father, what is this? Is it true?" Fareed took a step forward, his expression a mixture of anger and fear. "Son, there are things you don't understand. Decisions I had to make to protect our family, our legacy." Jasmine, observing the scene, seemed torn between defending her father and the growing doubt in her eyes. Emily stood up, facing Fareed. "And what about manipulating my family's debts? About forcing this marriage?" Fareed hesitated, his eyes briefly meeting Emily's before darting away. I did what I thought necessary to fulfill a promise, to unite our families." "At whose expense, father?" Adam questioned, his voice laden with disappointment. The tavern was in complete silence now, the tension palpable in the air. Fareed Habib, the powerful oil magnate, seemed to have aged years in a matter of minutes. Emily, feeling the weight of all the revelations, looked at Adam. Their eyes met, full of confusion, hurt, but also something more, something that neither lies nor secrets seemed capable of completely erasing. Michael, noticing the connection between the two, stepped forward. You can't trust them. All of this was built on lies. But before anyone could respond, the sound of sirens began to echo in the distance, rapidly approaching. Fareed paled. "What have you done?" he asked Michael, his voice trembling for the first time. Michael raised his chin, defiant. What should have been done a long time ago? Expose the truth. The sirens were now very close. Adam looked at Emily, his eyes pleading for understanding. "Emily, I swear I didn't know." Emily, torn between her heart and her reason, between nascent love and the harsh reality of revelations, felt the world spin around her. The choices she would make in the next moments would shape not only her future, but the fate of two families and an empire built on quicksand. As the tavern doors opened once more, now to give way to determined police officers, Emily found herself at the epicenter of a storm that threatened to destroy everything she knew. And amidst the chaos, one question echoed in her mind. Who could she really trust? The sound of sirens had faded, but the silence that hung over the police station was almost deafening. Emily sat in a waiting room, her hands trembling slightly as she tried to process the events of the last few hours. Across the hallway, she could see Adam through a window, talking intensely with a lawyer. Catherine and Thomas arrived hurriedly, their faces marked with concern. My love," Catherine exclaimed, embracing her daughter. "Is everything okay?" "What happened?" Emily took a deep breath, trying to organize her thoughts. "Mom, Dad, everything we thought we knew was a lie." Thomas frowned, confused. "What are you talking about, honey?" Before Emily could answer, Michael appeared, his face a mixture of determination and exhaustion. "Mr. and Mrs. Anderson, I can explain." As Michael detailed his discoveries to Emily's parents, on the other side of the station, Fareed Habib faced his own interrogation. Jasmine observed from afar, her eyes reflecting a mixture of shock and disappointment. Hours passed. Statements were taken, documents analyzed, and the truth little by little came to light. The manipulation of the Andersons' debts, the fraudulent contracts, the network of corruption that extended far beyond what any of them could have imagined. When she was finally released, Emily found Adam waiting for her in the hallway. Their eyes met, full of unspoken emotions. "Emily," Adam began, his voice hoarse, "I swear I knew nothing about this." "If I had known—" Emily raised a hand, interrupting him. "Adam, I need time to think, to understand all of this." Adam nodded, the pain evident in his eyes. "I understand, but please, believe me when I say that my feelings for you are real, regardless of all this." Before Emily could respond, Michael approached. Are you okay? We need to talk about the next steps." Emily looked from Adam to Michael, feeling the weight of the choices she would have to make. "Not now, Mike. I need to go home." In the days that followed, the media storm was relentless. Headlines plastered the newspapers, revealing the scandal that shook two of New York's most influential families. Reporters surrounded the Anderson mansion and the Habib office, eager for any information. Emily took refuge in her room, avoiding the incessant calls and messages flooding her cell phone. She spent hours recalling every moment, every conversation, trying to understand where the truth ended and the lies began. A week after the incident at the tavern, Emily finally decided to come out of her isolation. She arranged to meet Adam in a quiet park, away from prying eyes of the press. When Adam arrived, Emily noticed the dark circles under his eyes, the weariness evident in his posture. He sat down beside her on the bench, maintaining a respectful distance. "Thank you for meeting me," Adam said softly. Emily nodded, looking at the horizon. "Adam, I've spent days thinking about all of this, trying to understand." "And what did you conclude?" he asked, his voice barely disguising the hope and fear. Emily turned to face him. "I believe that you didn't know about your father's actions. But that doesn't change the fact that our relationship was built on lies." Adam lowered his head, the pain evident in his expression. "I know, and I understand if you want to walk away completely. But Emily, what I feel for you, That's real. Perhaps the only real thing in this whole situation. Emily felt tears form in her eyes. I feel something for you too, Adam. But how can we build something true on such a fragile foundation? At that moment, Emily's cell phone vibrated. It was a message from Michael. Urgent. New information about the case. I need to see you. Emily sighed, showing the message to Adam. Things are far from over, aren't they? Adam nodded, a determined look emerging in his eyes. Emily, I promise you, I'll do everything in my power to correct my father's mistakes, to build something new, something honest. Emily observed him for a moment, seeing the sincerity in his eyes. I want to believe you, Adam, but it will take time. They stood up, ready to face whatever came next. Before they parted, Adam gently held Emily's hand. No matter what happens, know that you've changed my life, Emily, and I'll fight for us if you give me the chance. Emily felt her heart race at these words. She squeezed Adam's hand lightly before letting go. One step at a time, Adam. Let's see where this journey takes us. As she walked towards Michael's office, Emily felt the weight of the choices she would have to make. The future was uncertain, full of challenges and potential pitfalls, but for the first time in weeks she felt a spark of hope. On the horizon, the sun began to set, painting the New York sky with shades of orange and pink. It was a reminder that, even after the darkest nights, a new day always dawns, bringing with it the promise of new beginnings and second chances. And so, with her heart divided between nascent love and harsh reality, Emily prepared to face the next chapter of her life, a chapter that she hoped would be written with truth, courage, and perhaps a love strong enough to overcome even the deepest lies. Michael's office was dimly lit by the fading evening light when Emily entered. The young lawyer was hunched over a pile of documents, his face illuminated by the glow of his computer screen. I'm glad you came, Michael said, standing up to greet her. We have a lot to discuss. Emily sat down, feeling the weight of exhaustion from the past few days. What did you find out, Mike? Michael picked up a folder and handed it to Emily. I found evidence that your father, Thomas, wasn't as oblivious to the shady dealings as we thought. Emily felt her heart sink. What do you mean? It seems he had knowledge of some of the questionable transactions, Em. He wasn't directly involved, but he turned a blind eye to a lot of things. The revelation hit Emily like a punch to the stomach. First the Habibs, now her own family. How many more lies would she have to unearth? What do we do now? She asked, her voice trembling slightly. Michael leaned forward, his eyes full of determination. We have two options. We can turn this information over to the authorities, or, Emily encouraged him to continue, or we can use this as leverage, to negotiate, to clear your family's name and maybe save what we can of the legitimate businesses. Emily pondered for a moment, the weight of the decision heavy on her shoulders. I need to talk to my father first. He deserves to know what we've discovered. Meanwhile, at the Habib mansion, Adam was facing his own battle. Sitting in his father's study, he faced Fareed with a mixture of disappointment and determination. Father, we can't go on like this, Adam said, his voice firm. We need to fix this. Do what's right. Fareed, seeming to have aged years in just a few weeks, sighed heavily. Adam, you don't understand. The business, our family, and everything we've built was built on lies, Adam interrupted, slamming his hand on the desk. And now we have the chance to rebuild, to do something honest. Jasmine, who was observing the scene from the doorway, finally spoke. Adam is right, Father. We can't keep living in this shadow. Fareed looked at his children, seeing in them a strength and integrity that he had lost long ago. Finally, he nodded. What do you suggest? The next morning, New York woke up to bombshell news. The newspapers plastered headlines about Habib Oil announcing a complete restructuring, promising full transparency and cooperation with ongoing investigations. Emily read the news with a mixture of surprise and admiration. Her phone rang. It was Adam. Did you see? He asked as soon as she answered. Yes, Emily replied, a smile forming on her lips. Was it you? Us, Adam corrected. Me, Jasmine. Even my father agreed in the end. Emily, I know it's just the beginning, but it's an important beginning, she completed. Adam, I have news too. About my family. They arranged to meet in the same park where they had talked days ago. When Emily arrived, she found Adam waiting for her, a bouquet of wildflowers in his hands. For you, he said, handing her the flowers. A symbol of new beginnings. Emily accepted the flowers, touched by the gesture. They sat down and she told Adam about Michael's discoveries, about the difficult conversation she had with her parents, and about the decision to also seek transparency and reparation. It won't be easy, Emily concluded. There will be consequences, maybe even legal ones. But it's the right thing to do. Adam took her hand, squeezing it gently. You're amazing, you know that? Your strength, your integrity. Emily felt her heart race. Adam, I think I'm ready to give us a chance. A real chance, without lies or obligations. The smile that lit up Adam's face was radiant. It's all I want, Emily. To build something true, together. In the weeks that followed, New York witnessed an unprecedented transformation. Habib Oil, under Adam's leadership, initiated clean energy projects and established reparation funds for communities affected by its past practices. The Andersons, guided by Emily, gave up a considerable part of their assets to pay off debts and make donations to social causes. Thomas, although facing possible legal consequences, found redemption in fully cooperating with the authorities. Michael, initially skeptical about Emily and Adam's relationship, gradually began to see the sincerity in the young businessman's actions. He became a valuable ally in the legal and ethical rebuilding of the companies. On a sunny afternoon, months after the initial scandal, Emily found herself in her old room, now transformed into an impromptu office. Before her, an open laptop showed the first pages of her novel in progress, a story of love, redemption, and second chances, inspired by her own journey. A soft knock on the door made her look up. It was Adam, smiling lovingly. "Ready for our date?" he asked. Emily smiled, saving her work before standing up. "Always." As they left together, hand in hand, Emily reflected on the journey that brought them here. From lies came truth, from chaos came order, and from what should have been just a business arrangement, true love blossomed. New York stretched out before them, a city of endless possibilities. And for the first time in a long time, Emily felt she was exactly where she should be, beside someone she chose out of love, not obligation. The future was still uncertain, with challenges to be faced and wounds to be healed. But with the strength of the love they had built, and the determination to do what is right, Emily and Adam were ready to write the next chapter of their lives together. And so, under the blue sky of a New York afternoon, two hearts that fate had united through lies finally found their deepest truth in each other. The sun rose over New York City, painting the sky with hues of pink and orange, as Emily watched the city awaken from her balcony. 2 years had passed since that fateful day at the tavern, when truths came to light and lives were forever transformed. With a cup of coffee in her hands, Emily reflected on the journey that brought her here. Her book, inspired by her own story, had become a bestseller, touching hearts and inspiring people across America. The tale of love, redemption, and second chances resonated with many who sought hope in difficult times. A pair of strong arms enveloped her from behind, and Emily smiled as she felt Adam's soft kiss on her cheek. "Good morning, my love," he murmured. "Thinking about the big day?" Emily turned in his arms, facing those eyes she now knew so well. "How can I not? It seems like yesterday we were about to get married out of obligation, and now we're here by choice," Adam completed, his smile radiant. The sound of hurried footsteps interrupted the moment. Catherine entered the balcony, her eyes shining with excitement. "Darling, the dress has arrived. Come try it on." Emily laughed, allowing herself to be swept away by her mother's enthusiasm. As she prepared, she couldn't help but think about how things had changed. Thomas, her father, after facing the legal consequences of his past actions, found a new purpose. He now dedicated his time to mentoring young entrepreneurs about business ethics, turning his mistakes into valuable lessons for others. Farid Habib, initially resistant to change, surprised everyone by becoming a staunch advocate for corporate transparency. His journey of redemption inspired many in the business world to rethink their practices. Jasmine, Adam's sister, took the lead in Habib Oil's clean energy projects, transforming the company into an example of sustainable innovation. And Michael. Emily smiled as she thought of her friend. Initially skeptical about Adam, he had become one of the couple's biggest supporters. His dedication to exposing the truth led him to a successful career as an investigative journalist, always fighting for justice and transparency. The day passed in a whirlwind of final preparations, nervous laughter, and emotional hugs. When night finally fell, Emily found herself in front of the mirror, admiring her reflection in the elegant wedding dress. "You look stunning," Catherine said, tears of happiness in her eyes. Emily hugged her mother, feeling a wave of gratitude for everything they had overcome together. The venue chosen for the ceremony was a beautiful garden on the outskirts of New York City. Twinkling lights decorated the trees, creating a magical atmosphere under the starry sky. When the music began to play, Emily walked down the aisle of flowers, her heart overflowing with emotion. Adam waited for her at the altar, his eyes shining with love and admiration. The officiant began the ceremony with words that touched all those present. "We are gathered here to celebrate not just the union of Emily and Adam, but also the extraordinary journey that brought them to this moment. A journey of overcoming, of discoveries, of forgiveness, and above all, of true love." Emily and Adam exchanged emotional vows, words that spoke of a love born from adversity, forged in honesty, and strengthened by the determination to build something beautiful together. "I, Emily, take you, Adam, not as the man who was promised to me, but as the man I chose to love. I promise to stand by your side in joy and sorrow, in moments of triumph and in challenges. Together we will continue to write our story, one page at a time." Adam, with tears in his eyes, responded, "Emily, you taught me the true meaning of integrity and love. I promise to honor each day by your side, to continue our journey of growth, and to always choose truth and love above all else. You are my heart, my inspiration, my companion in this incredible adventure that is life." When the officiant declared them husband and wife, the explosion of joy and applause echoed through the garden. The kiss that sealed their union was a symbol of promise, of a future built on foundations of trust and true love. The reception that followed was a celebration not just of Emily and Adam's love, but of all the positive transformations that their families and friends had experienced. In a quiet moment during the party, Emily and Adam stepped away, observing their loved ones. "Look at them," Emily said, smiling. "Who would have thought we'd get here?" Adam gently kissed his wife's forehead. "It's amazing how love can transform everything, isn't it?" At that moment, seeing the joy on everyone's faces, her parents dancing carefree, Fareed laughing with Jasmine, Michael toasting with fellow journalists, Emily felt a deep sense of peace and fulfillment. You know," she said, turning to Adam, "I think I finally understood the true meaning of happily ever after." "And what would that be?" Adam asked, curious. "It's not about everything being perfect all the time," Emily explained. "It's about choosing love, honesty, and forgiveness every day. It's about building something beautiful together, even when the path is difficult." Adam smiled, pulling her closer. "Then, my love, let our happily ever after begin." As they danced under the stars, surrounded by those they loved, Emily and Adam knew this was just the beginning of a new chapter in their lives, a chapter full of promises, challenges, and above all, true love. And so, on the starry night in New York, a story that began with lies and obligations ended with truths and choices. Emily and Adam, along with their families and friends, had learned that love, when genuine and nurtured with honesty, has the power to heal wounds, break down barriers, and build bridges between worlds once divided. As the party continued into the night, the promise of a new dawn hung in the air, a dawn full of possibilities, shared dreams, and a love that, having survived the harshest trials, could only grow stronger with the passage of time.